With that being said, I'm going to go on to my second favorite tight end, and I have Pat Freiermuth from Penn State going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was drafted in the later half of the second round in the 2021 NFL Draft. I think this was more of a luxury selection for Pittsburgh more than anything. They still have Eric Ebron on roster, who's probably going to still be their starting tight end going into the season. But once Pat gets more accustomed to the NFL, and learns the tight end position a little bit, I could definitely see him getting more snaps and taking over the lead tight end role. But we'll see what happens. Their offensive line is still pretty atrocious. They didn't really do much to upgrade this offseason. They lost, obviously, Villanueva and Filer going to the Ravens and the Chargers, respectively. They did draft two guys in the third and the fourth round from the draft, but we'll see. Those are a little bit more project players when you get to that later in the draft. So we'll see what happens. But according to PFF, at the end of last season, they had the 9th ranked offensive line with a 51% team pass block win rate, which was 28th according to ESPN. So you can see they were more of a run blocking team. And their pass blocking was very suspect, especially later in the later half of the year. They went 11-0, and then they fell down in a stretch, and then they got routed in a nearly a blowout loss to the Browns in the playoffs. So I think this offensive line is going to be a little bit shaky. I can definitely see a lot of regression coming from this whole offense. Obviously, some of the key pieces on their offense, Big Ben, who's getting a little bit older. We're not really sure he can play the whole season. His arm still might be an issue for him, especially later in his career. Not going to be able to recover as well as if he was younger and he got the injury. They also drafted Najee Harris out of Alabama, the rookie running back. And the wide receivers for this team, obviously they have Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson. They also have Chase Claypool, who was rookie last year. They also still have James Robinson. So a ton of guys here that can come in and take some targets away from Freiermuth, especially if he's the tight end too. And then on the similar topic, Eric Ebron is listed as the starter for this team going into the year. So I think that's not going to be good for Pat. But like I said, if he can wait a little bit longer, I think he can hopefully be the Heath Miller type role for this team, security blanket. Hopefully maybe a red zone threat for this team. So again, like I've been saying this whole time, my main concern really is that he's the tight end too. And I don't really trust his O-line all that much. I think it's very solid, like a solid run blocking unit. But as far as pass blocking goes, I don't really see it. The only real stud on this line is David DeCastro. Other than that, it's kind of just a bunch of meth players. Their defense actually took a step down as well. I don't think their defense is going to be nearly as good as it was in the previous season. So I have Pat Freiermuth as my tight end 2 for all those reasons. Now going on, my number 3 tight end for the 2021 fantasy season in terms of rookies is Tommy Tremble from Notre Dame, and he went to the Carolina Panthers in the middle of the 3rd round, 83rd overall. The problem with this, kind of similar to everyone else on this list, outside of Kyle Pitts, is going to be he's not the immediate starter. There are guys listed ahead of him. According to our lads, I'm not really sure how they list this because they have Carolina running a 2 tight end set. But they have Tommy Tremble listed as the 2nd tight end 2 behind Ian Thomas. But I do know coming out of the draft, they thought Tremble was going to be like baby Gronk. So, I mean, if you're comped to Gronk in any way, I think that's really good news for you. But again, he's lower in the depth chart, so we'll see what happens with that. In terms of the Carolina Panthers, they had the 17th ranked offensive line according to Pro Football Focus with a 53% team pass block win rate, which was 23rd according to ESPN. So again, one of those teams which was better at run blocking than pass blocking, but still about middle of the pack with their pass block win rate. They did do a little bit in the draft to upgrade here. They drafted Brady Christensen in the 3rd round, Deontay Brown in the 6th, and they still have a few guys like Taylor Moton, Pat Elflein, and Matt Paradis to man the offensive line. So, we'll see what happens. I think their offensive line is definitely respectable. I could definitely see them being about middle of the pack, maybe a little bit higher unit this year. But again, there's a ton of pieces on this offense that could actually take away from Tremble's potential fantasy relevance. So obviously they traded for Sam Darnold. quarterback from the Jets. They have Christian McCaffrey, who's a monster himself. He's guaranteed slated at least 1 touchdown a game, which could hurt Tremble's fantasy production a little bit. They also have DJ Moore at wide receiver, Robbie Anderson. They signed David Moore from Seattle. They drafted Terrace Marshall in the bottom of the 2nd round. They also have tight end Dan Arnold listed as the starter. And again, like I said before, they have a few guys listed above Tommy, but I do believe that he could rise up the ranks, and I think he could end up being the tight end 2 for this team going into the season. Again, tight ends don't develop as quick as other position groups, so it does take them a little bit of time because they're not only learning wide receiver routes, like all the route running tree. They also have to learn pass blocking and run blocking techniques. So it does hurt them a little bit, but I do think he can become the tight end 2, but again, that's my main concern. There are a ton of mouths to feed on this offense, and along with that, he won't be the starting tight end, so I think that could hurt him a little bit. But if they slowly get him accustomed to this team, maybe later down the season, definitely in the future, I think he could be a very solid tight end for the Carolina Panthers.
Never ever find the right words, and there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl, so I can only say that it feels right.